Cam Newton stuck up for Lamar Jackson while Ryan Clark disrespected him. We talk about what was said and so much more coming up next here on Locked On Ravens.
You are Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another edition of Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Ostreicher of Ravens Wire, here with you on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for being here today on this bonus edition of the show, making Locked On Ravens a part of your day in your first listen each and every single day, are free and available for you all podcasting platforms. That includes in video form on YouTube and audio form wherever you get your shows, for 5 days a week, plus more of daily Ravens coverage. Today's bonus episode of Locked On Ravens is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. We are back on a Saturday. Hopefully everybody had a great start to your weekend. Football tomorrow, the Ravens taking on the Commanders in Baltimore. Now a very highly anticipated Week 6 matchup, but I had said at the conclusion of yesterday's show, we'll see where the headlines take us, and maybe there'll be a bonus episode, maybe not. Lo and behold, here we are, as there were a couple of former players who got in the Lamar Jackson conversation, and that is Mr. Cam Newton and Mr. Ryan Clark. Now, Cam Newton stuck up for Lamar Jackson. He was talking with Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp, and of course, the topic of conversation was Lamar Jackson versus Jaden Daniels. Well, the same topic was what Ryan Clark was speaking about, and he made some outrageous and honestly quite shameful comments about the matter. So in the first part of the show, we'll talk about Cam Newton. We'll talk about those comments. And then in the second part of the show, we'll move on to Ryan Clark. Then in the final part of the show, I didn't touch on this. This happened actually almost a week ago at this point, and I just haven't had time to talk about it, but I figured, hey, it's a bonus episode. Why not talk about it? Joe Flacco had some comments about his final year with the Ravens and unveiled some truths that I think a lot of people already kind of assumed, but he said them out loud. And so we'll talk about that. Also dive a little bit more into the Commanders and Ravens matchup in general. So, man, just a jam-packed bonus episode after. I didn't even know if we were going to have one today. But, of course, love doing this. Love doing the bonus episodes. And let's dive into it. Cam Newton talked with Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp, as I said, and ended up saying, look, can we stop with the comparisons here? Obviously, we know we've been following this all week, right? Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels, the comparisons, Jaden Daniels, is he the next Lamar Jackson? Is he baby Lamar Jackson? Cam Newton, can we stop with the comparisons here? Went on to say Lamar is in his own realm, and went and talked about the point where even if the Ravens lose tomorrow, where if they lose to Jaden Daniels and the Commanders, that does not, honestly change the conversation. Shannon ended up saying, oh, well, look, yes, too many years under his belt to kind of influence that whole thing for Lamar. And you're kind of seeing two different situations where Cam was talking about how, oh, well, with Lamar, we're seeing that chemistry with Derrick Henry evolve in real time. And like we see this and we have seen it from Lamar. For Jaden, the question is, can you keep it up? And I think over the course of the season, personally, I think he absolutely can. I think Jaden Daniels is a heck of a player, but when you're talking about Lamar versus Jaden Daniels, it's this overblown, tired narrative that whenever a dual threat quarterback comes into the league, sometimes you hear Lamar Jackson, this is the next Lamar Jackson. And what happens every single time? It's not the next Lamar Jackson. That's not saying Jaden Daniels can't be one of the best quarterbacks in the league like Lamar Jackson is, but there's only one Lamar Jackson. There's only one Jaden Daniels. If you want to go, there's only one Patrick Mahomes, right? There is only one. When you talk about skill set, Lamar has such a unique skill set. Jaden Daniels has his own unique skill set. And I put out a tweet yesterday, kind of found a weird side of NFL Twitter who just didn't understand what the heck I was talking about and just took it completely out of context for some reason. But all that aside, I said, look, what's with pitting these two guys against each other? Can't we just enjoy them both? And this weird side of NFL Twitter took it as, oh, well, can we not have competition anymore? Like, what NFL's gotten soft like this. That's not what I was saying. Like, I'm all for hey, Jaden Daniels suits up on Sunday. That's the Ravens' enemy, right? I think he's a heck of a player, but if you're looking at this Ravens team and I'm looking at this Ravens team, Once Jaden Daniels suits up and plays his Baltimore Ravens team, that's the guy you got to go beat, right? I'm not saying that. I'm saying is why do we have to tear guys down like we have seen Lamar Jackson be torn down over the course of his career? And then you look at Jaden Daniels and it's, oh, well, now if he isn't the next Lamar Jackson, is he going to get torn down? Like, is there this standard placed upon him where that is the only way? It's like, oh, Jaden's having a great start to his career. It's been awesome watching him evolve over these first 5 games. But like Cam said, the question with Jaden is, can he keep it up? That's the question with Lamar. It's, well, we've seen Lamar do his thing. We've seen Lamar evolve. But we are 5 games into Jaden Daniels' career right now. We are in year 7 of Lamar Jackson, 6 of him being a starter. The sample size is there. And for, we'll talk about the Ryan Clark comments in the second part of the show. But it's been this, even since draft night, even since Jaden Daniels was at LSU, it's kind of been, Lamar Jackson comparisons are creeping up. And it's just like, why? Like, why do we do this? And we can actually look and compare Lamar versus Jaden this season so far. Jaden has 3 more completions than Lamar on the year. His completion percentage is about 12 percentage points higher than Lamar's. Lamar has more yards than Jaden Daniels by about 80. Jaden is averaging more yards per attempt than Lamar, 8.7 compared to 8. Lamar has more passing touchdowns than Jaden, 9 compared to 4. Lamar has 1 less interception than Jaden Daniels, 1 compared to 2. Both quarterbacks really good at not turning the ball over. And, if you want to throw offensive lines, right, circumstantial into that conversation, Lamar has been sacked 7 less times than Jaden Daniels, 5 sacks for Lamar compared to 12 for Jaden Daniels. And obviously, you want to look at the rushing stats. Lamar is averaging about 1.5 yards per carry more, has about 63 rushing yards more. Jaden has more rushing touchdowns. So again, some stats Lamar is ahead, some stats Jaden is ahead. Some things Jaden has done really well this season where Lamar has been like, all right. And the other side, Lamar's been awesome at some things that Jaden's kind of like, oh, maybe he's lacking behind a little bit in the stats category. That's just how things go. Both quarterbacks are playing super well, right? Both quarterbacks are. But taking what Cam said here, Lamar is in a different realm right now. Jaden is going to probably be in his own realm in a couple of seasons, right? Like, if he keeps up what he's doing right now, that's what it is, right? That's what it can be for Jaden Daniels. But we are taking a 2-time MVP, and we are comparing him to a rookie who has played 5 games. And we're, one, in doing that, placing the weight of the shoulders, or the weight of the world, on Jaden Daniels' shoulders here. And 2, that's discrediting what Lamar Jackson has done. And look, on the field performance, we can look at it. It's not like Lamar hasn't been playing well this season. It'd be one thing if Lamar was having kind of like an okay-ish year or wasn't really playing that well, and Jaden was having the year that he had. Like, I would understand, like, oh, yeah, Jaden's playing better than Lamar, right? This, that, and the other. But Lamar is playing at an MVP pace right now. I mean, I'll pull back up the stats. Lamar through week 5 this season, number 2 in total yards, number 2 in adjusted yards per attempt, number 3 in net yards per attempt, number 4 in passing touchdowns, number 4 in passer rating, number 5 in QBR, number 5 in yards per completion. And oh, by the way, he's in the top 10 in passing yards still at number 9. And so everybody's trying to come up with these excuses and come up with these narratives about Lamar as a passer and as a thrower. And they try to bring up the passing stats, and they try to say, oh, look at how far down on the list Lamar is in all these different passing categories. Lamar's in the top 5 in a ton of those categories, a lot of which I just mentioned there, and others I couldn't even fit on the graphic. So has Lamar been perfect this season? No. Has Lamar been, this guy who has not made one singular mistake or not had a singular bad throw this year? No. No quarterback is perfect, but we can say both guys are playing really well without saying, oh, well, okay, Jaden Daniels is automatically the next Lamar Jackson, because it's not only you're taking this season into account, now we're just taking Lamar's entire career into account, apparently, because coming up in the second part of the show, we'll talk about what Ryan Clark had to say about the matter. Honestly, some absolutely wild comments here, so stay tuned. We'll have to get to on Locked On Ravens. First, the show is brought to you by Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat at the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.5% APY on uninvested cash, receive unlimited 1% deposit bonuses, and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides the privilege of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply for product-specific disclosures. Visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. And the show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. Users pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot total to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Prize Picks has so many things that they offer, and I love going on Prize Picks looking at everything that they have up at that time. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. And Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this football season with which players are going off, which players aren't. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. And so for this Ravens and Commanders game, if you like more on the Lamar Jackson passing yards, more on the Jaden Daniels passing yards, be sure to go on Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDON to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today and use code LOCKEDON to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. We return our second segment of this bonus edition of Locked On Ravens. Kevin Oestreicher still here with you. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Also follow along in audio form. Again, we bring you 5 days a week, plus more of daily Ravens coverage. Of course, we go live after every single Ravens game. So we will be live after the Ravens and Commanders game, win or lose or tie. Hopefully not a tie. I despise ties. But win or lose, we'll be live for right after the Ravens game for an instant reaction, as we always do. So if you have a friend or a family member who is a Ravens fan or just wants daily Ravens coverage, be sure to send them our way over here on Locked On Ravens. Now, we talked about Cam Newton sticking up for Lamar Jackson. Well, we also had comments yesterday from another former player, Ravens rival, Ryan Clark. And these comments were some of the craziest, I think, that I've seen. It's just, I can't even believe we're going to have this conversation here in the second part of the show. Ryan Clark went on and he ended up saying on TV, on actual television, that Jaden Daniels, through 5 games, is a better passer than Lamar Jackson. Right now, today. That's it. Right now, he's a better passer than Lamar Jackson. Just at this stage. Like, we're not looking at Lamar Jackson and his evolution as a passer over his 7 seasons. And Jaden Daniels, through 5 games, is already a better passer than Lamar Jackson. I think Jaden Daniels is a great passer. I think Jaden Daniels has a lot of traits that are going to take him far. But this is what I'm talking about, where we are hyping up one player and tearing the other down. Both players are good passers. Both players are. But of course, in the spirit of toxic competition, there's one thing. Like, I love regular competition like that. I love the fire, the intensity, the passion, and whatnot, and that's all awesome, and I love it. But then it comes a point where it's just like, all right, now we're just like unnecessarily and actually here falsely tearing one player down to hype the other one up. And again, it's putting the weight of the world on Jaden Daniels and his shoulders to where, look, if this doesn't work out for Jaden Daniels, and I personally think it will, but if it doesn't work out, now he has the expectation of being the next Lamar Jackson, already a better passer than the 2-time MVP, this, that, and the other. Again, Lamar's not a perfect passer, but neither is Jaden Daniels. Neither is Patrick Mahomes. Neither is Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, whichever quarterback you want to throw in there. Nobody is. But, you know, it's even one thing to compare their rookie seasons, and even that is circumstantial, which we'll talk about. But we see Lamar Jackson make these throws that nobody else can make. Right, on the run and doing his thing. We see Lamar Jackson drop the ball, into a bucket. Sure, he struggled with his deep ball accuracy over the course of, the last handful of seasons. And, we can honestly admit that, right? We're here to praise Lamar Jackson where it's due and give criticism where it's due. And sure, Lamar has flaws in his game, but guess what? So does Jaden Daniels. So does everybody. But this comment or these comments are just discrediting 7 years of Lamar Jackson, 2 MVPs of Lamar Jackson, and saying a player through the first 5 games of his career is a better passer than Lamar Jackson. And look, you can only play who's in front of you, and I'm not blaming Jaden Daniels for this at all, right? Not at all. This is not Jaden Daniels' fault whatsoever, but it's been circulating on social media. Multiple different people are talking about, well, who are the teams that Jaden Daniels has played and won against this season? The Giants, who are not necessarily known for their pass defense. The Bengals, we saw that defense last week, and Lamar Jackson torched it, and so Jaden Daniels, right? He torched that thing too. Cardinals, who have actually, I think the Cardinals played a little better than I expected them to this season, but still, who were 2-3. And then the Browns, who have some quality cornerbacks, and that defense is pretty vaunted, right? Don't get me wrong. So, I know that the Browns defense isn't what it's been over the last couple of seasons, but look, 2-3, 1-4, 2-3, 1-4. Where Lamar has played the Chiefs and he's played the Bills, who have, admittedly fallen off. And look, when you compare these two quarterbacks, I'm not trying to say one quarterback doesn't get credit because the schedule is weak. I'm not saying that. But you have to put all these factors in because everybody else is putting all these factors in. So Lamar lost to the Raiders. Lamar lost to the Chiefs. Lamar wasn't the main reason that happened. And look, I expect Jaden Daniels to go out there and torch great defenses time and time again, right? That's the player that I think he can be. But Lamar Jackson does that all the time, and he's still getting called a worse passer than a 5-game rookie. So, I mean, look, at the end of the day, this is a statement game for Jaden Daniels. We all know that. Where the Ravens secondary has struggled immensely. They have. They've been pretty bad this season. Marlon individually has played great. Kyle Hamilton has gotten it back together after struggling the first couple of weeks. But you can even compare their rookie seasons to the point where, and actually there's actually a very good article on this by David Suggs of the Sporting News. So shout out to David on this article. And look, the stats for Jaden Daniels, 106.3 rating compared to Lamar's 84.5, about 20 points higher completion percentage so far. We have to take a couple things into account here. This is very circumstantial. A lot of these things are circumstantial. We're already crowning guys, right? Jaden Daniels spent 5 years at LSU. Lamar was 3 at Louisville. So, Lamar came out of college a lot more raw as a player than Jaden Daniels did. And Lamar, had to evolve his game, and Jaden Daniels will certainly have to do that as well. But the other part of this is the offenses. Lamar was placed into an offense that wasn't meant for him, wasn't built for him. It was a Joe Flacco offense, and at the time, you could not find 2 more different players than Lamar Jackson and Joe Flacco. Where Jaden Daniels, had the whole offseason. He knew he was going to be the starter. They tailored that offense to him. Cliff Kingsbury comes in, who, despite how wet in Arizona, is a very bright offensive mind. Lamar had Marty Morningweg, who ended up getting let go after the 2018 season, and Greg Roman, who came in and transformed that offense in 2019. But guess what? That wasn't Greg Roman in 2018. It was an offense built for Joe Flacco under an offensive coordinator that didn't stick, in a situation where Lamar wasn't sure if he was going to be starting at all or not. So you can look at the stats and we can say, yeah, the stats for Jaden Daniels during his rookie season are probably going to be a lot better than Lamar's were. But it is very circumstantial. So I'm throwing that out. Like, Jaden Daniels is going to have more passing yards than Lamar Jackson, because also, guess what? Lamar played in a lot less games and started in a lot less games than Jaden Daniels will this season. So it's just, you're calling Lamar a worse passer than Jaden Daniels. Both guys are good passers. Both guys have different strengths and weaknesses in their passing ability. That's just what it is. Every player does. But again, these comments, to me, discredit everything that Lamar has done over these last 7 years, including winning 2 MVPs. And at this rate, especially if he beats Jaden Daniels, because now the whole new thing is, well, Jaden Daniels, if he beats Lamar, is obviously going to be at the front of the MVP conversation. So obviously if Baltimore beats Washington and Lamar has a great game, well, Lamar's already kind of at the front of that MVP conversation right now with their, Joe Burrow, even though Cincinnati's record isn't really there. Baker, I guess, if you want to throw him in that conversation. I think Sam Darnold and Josh Allen have kind of fallen off a little bit there. But, I mean, again, it takes a lot to win an MVP, and I'm not discounting that. Lamar couldn't have won an MVP by, just, throwing for 3 touchdowns and 9 interceptions while having 1,500 rushing yards. I feel like that's the narrative that everybody has about him. It's just not true. So Jaden's going to be a heck of a player in this league. I definitely believe that, but Lamar already is. And Lamar has shown it time and time again. He leads this team to victories. And in the passing game, it's just the old tired narratives that we hear over and over again. And it would be one thing if Lamar was having an okay-ish to bad-ish year this year. And even then, you discredit everything he did. But he's playing like an MVP again this season, and we're still saying that. It's okay to say both guys are good passers. Like, it's crazy. So, crazy comments by Ryan Clark there, and he rightfully got pretty flamed in the comments for him. So that is what it is. But big game for Washington and Baltimore. And coming up to the final part of the show, we will preview that a little bit more. But first, we will talk about what Joe Flacco had to say. He got real on the final year in Baltimore of his Ravens career. So be sure to stay tuned. A lot to get to on the show. First, the show is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, who saw the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You're started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bets for this Ravens and Commanders game. The Ravens open up as 6.5-point favorites. So if you like the Ravens from the favorite side, the Commanders from the underdog side, be sure to go on FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com. We return our final segment, Locked On Ravens. Kevin Ostreicher here with you on this bonus edition on Saturday. Ravens football tomorrow. We'll be back with a game day episode, 6 a.m. Eastern time. That will be a full game preview of Ravens Commanders. And of course, as I mentioned, we'll be live after the game to instantly react to it. But really appreciate all the support here on Locked On Ravens. If you're an everyday, you tune in every day, really appreciate all the consistent support. If you're new to the channel, welcome in. Hopefully you stay a while. And if you're somewhere in the middle, thank you for all of your support as well. We are over 8,500 subscribers on YouTube. And actually we are almost, now we're under 1,500 left until 10,000, where if you were with me from the very beginning on YouTube, my very first day I said, if I hit 10,000, I'm going to wear a full styrofoam cup pattern outfit for a full week on the show. So, hey, if you want to see that, get us closer to 10,000. Really appreciate that. In audio form, that community is growing every single day as well. So appreciate the support there as well. Before we get into a mini preview of Ravens Commanders, let's talk about what Joe Flacco had to say at the end of the Colts game last week. And this obviously pertains to the Ravens, as I haven't had a chance to talk about it with everything going on. But Joe, when he was asked about Anthony Richardson and prioritizing his health, he said, quote, "I've been in that spot once. It was my last year in Baltimore. I hurt my hip, and man, I did not want to let Lamar get out there. That's for sure. That was my team, and that was very hard." I think a lot of people knew this with Joe, where, there were all these rumors and reports about, Joe not being, I don't want to say welcoming of Lamar, but didn't necessarily take the mentorship role upon himself. Those were the rumors and reports coming out. And obviously, there are videos of Joe, especially that Chargers game, primetime 2018. He was teaching Lamar on the sideline with RG3 and all that. But I remember back in 2018, there were all those things that were coming out and all that speculation and whatnot. And a lot of people in that moment back then were like, yeah, Joe definitely don't want to give up that starting job. But of course, he's a competitor. Of course he doesn't want to give up his starting job. I don't blame him for that. But he is kind of all saying it for the first time here. Like, this is the first time he's actually openly talked about this way. And Joe has certainly changed since he's left Baltimore. Not he let me make this clear. Joe wasn't a bad guy in Baltimore. Please don't take my comments that way. Joe was awesome. I have a lot of respect for Joe and everything that he did for this team, both on and off the field. But I think how he handled the Lamar situation did rub some people the wrong way. And, it was kind of unfortunate how that whole thing unfolded. But, if you're a quarterback and that's your team and has been your team and the Ravens, they draft you a replacement, that's going to make you feel some type of way. Some quarterbacks handle it differently than others, right? We've seen some quarterbacks really embrace that mentorship role. Other veterans are just like, figure it out yourself, man. Like, don't come from my job like that. And for Joe, once he got hurt and Lamar kind of took those reins, he understood his time was up. Obviously got traded to Denver in the offseason. But for Joe to openly say this, I think was kind of like a whoa moment for Ravens fans, because I don't think really anybody expected him to openly say it. But, he's kind of, since he's left, been in New York, been in Philly, obviously with Cleveland last year and obviously now with the Colts, there have been those stories that have trickled out with Joe. So I'm glad he said it. I'm glad that there doesn't have to be speculation on this anymore. And of course, there's still other things that he hasn't said or that are still, I guess, left to the imagination. But definitely shocking comments in the way that just like, whoa, didn't expect to ever hear that from Joe Flacco. Now, Washington, Baltimore, big game, week 6, probably game of the week again, man. Baltimore just, you want good games, the Baltimore Ravens will give them to you. You want entertaining games, Baltimore Ravens will give them to you. Obviously, coming off that 41-38 overtime win against the Bengals, now you got a game that, everybody, when the season, was just starting, or even back when the schedule was released, everyone looked at that game, Ravens Commanders, and were like, okay, pencil it as a Ravens win. Who cares about this game? Now it's game of the week. Obviously, a lot of people are hyping it up as maybe the next game of the year. But big game for Baltimore. Again, Lamar Jackson 21-1 against the NFC. My favorite non-favorite stat, that one quarterback he lost to was Daniel Jones, who, Baltimore in December will be seeing later in the year. But also the Ravens under John Harbaugh, 15-2 against rookie quarterbacks at home. Only 2 losses, Mr. Trubisky, Chicago, and Kenny Pickett, Steelers. Rough. Lamar and this Ravens team loses to the weirdest quarterbacks. Like they can't figure out Gardner Minshew, but they have Joe Burrow's number. Like it's so funny to me. It's so funny. But obviously, when you look at this matchup, start with the Ravens offense. Commanders have a bad run defense. They're second to last in the league in terms of net yards per attempt. Their pass defense is middling. They have some talented players. They have really talented players, especially in that front 7. But I would expect Baltimore to try to run that ball early and often and see what they have there for Baltimore's defense. Obviously, it stopped Jaden Daniels. Brian Robinson has missed practice each day this week, and he's going to be a game-time decision leading up to Sunday, but I wouldn't anticipate he plays. I'd expect it to be Austin Eckler and Jeremy McNichols that take that running back split. But you got to stop Terry McLaurin. It's what we were talking about with guys like CeeDee Lamb and Devontae Adams and Jamar Chase even. Shut the top guy down and make someone else beat you. Make Sammy Brown beat you. Make Zach Ertz beat you. Make someone else beat you, right? Don't make it be Terry McLaurin. Terry and Jaden Daniels had a rough go of it the first couple of weeks. They really found their stride. So Baltimore get off to a fast start, make Jaden Daniels uncomfortable, all things that I think can help propel this Ravens team to a victory. And again, this Ravens defense, Roquan talked trash to Jaden Daniels, right? Obviously showed respect, but also talked some trash saying he's still a rookie. He hasn't seen a defense like the Ravens defense. Baltimore's defense is very complex, and for rookie quarterbacks, it can be very hard for them to get the better of that unit. So Baltimore's defense needs a good game. Obviously, go out there and do what you did to Josh Allen to Jaden Daniels. And I think obviously it'll be a lot easier to do to Jaden Daniels than Josh Allen because, again, Jaden Daniels is a rookie. A very talented rookie, a very good rookie, a rookie who's playing great ball right now. But in terms of some of these things, processing and whatnot, big test for Jaden Daniels. Big test. So we'll see if he can pass it or not, but a good game on the horizon between Baltimore and Washington. That's all I have for you here today on this bonus episode of Locked On Ravens. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Coming up tomorrow, of course, we'll be back here 6 a.m. Eastern time for our pregame episode, getting you ready for game day. So whether you're on the way down to the stadium, maybe you're getting up and getting ready for game day, maybe you're putting out a spread to have friends, family over, wherever, whenever, be sure to check out our pregame episode. And of course, be sure to tune in with us after the game as well tomorrow. So be sure to subscribe on YouTube, follow along in audio form, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On Ravens.